Hey community, in today's episode, Chris Tomlin sits down with Matt McCoy to talk about his latest worship album, Always, to talk about tips for worship leaders and songwriters, and a lot more. We love this interview with Chris, and we're so happy to have him on the podcast. We hope you enjoy.
Chris, thanks so much for joining us for this interview. I have so many questions I want to talk with you and ask you about worship and your new album. Before, I like to do this with people when I first interview them. I love to pull up, if I have it, I love to pull up a photo of a time that we've met. And I have one. This is the most embarrassing photo.
Oh my gosh.
In the world.
For who? Me, for sure.
No, for me. I'm this like 16-year-old. All right, so this is me. I'm like a 16-year-old worship leader at a church in Cincinnati. This was my moment to meet Chris Tomlin. And here I am in the corner with my eyes shut. You've got your arm around my friend Seth, and I'm just kind of like hiding off in the corner here.
It's all
I'm
good.
like, this is
great.
so humiliating. That's in 2005. Luckily, we got to meet again. I think this is in like 2007. At least I have my eyes open.
Oh my gosh, yes.
This was some tour. Maybe it was like the Indescribable tour or something.
Yeah.
And then more recently at your worship night tour in 2017.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I love to show that, just because I think it's fun. If we've ever met before and I actually have a photo, I love to pull that up.
Well, you're looking amazing. You're getting better with age.
Thanks, Chris. You as well. So tell us just the story. I've never heard this story, but like, tell us the story of how you started leading worship. Like, who taught you? Was there someone who really inspired you to get going into that?
Yeah. I mean, my early days, one of the very first things, I grew up in a very small little town. My dad taught me to play guitar, and I played at my church. And I had a very small church when growing up, and I would play at church because I had the opportunity, because I was the only kid that could play music. I could play something at the church, and there wasn't many of us in the youth group, and they'd throw me up there. And I just loved it when I would play and people would sing. I can remember even telling my mom, I'd play at church. I was like, Mom, I love this when people sing. And they're not just watching me play, but they do sing. And I didn't know at that time that God was putting that in me, kind of wiring me that way. You know, I had no idea that. I didn't even know what a worship leader was. I never heard the term. You know, we didn't really have that in our church. And so when I was growing up, and so that was like the early days of like, oh, wow, I really like this. I'd love to try to write some songs that are simple that people can sing with me. And it started like that. And I got an opportunity when I was in senior in high school, to play at this crusade. It was like a youth event, youth week kind of in the summer. And I was really fired up, and I only knew like 3 songs. I didn't know many songs, but this youth pastor asked me if I'd come play, and I was like, sure. And I was just, I had no idea what I was doing. And this guy named James, he calls me, and he got this deep voice, and he's like, hey, my name is James. I'm like, hey, I'm Chris. He's like, man, I'm calling you because I'm speaking at this youth week, and you're leading the music, and I've never heard of you before, and I kind of want to know who you are. And I was like, well, James, the reason you never heard of me is because I've never done this before, and I've only played at my home church, and I've never played out like this. He said, well, what kind of songs do you do? And I said, well, James, I know like these 3 songs. And he was like, you could hear the pause over the phone. And he's like, okay, can I send you some music? And I was like, yeah. So he sends me these tapes. That'll tell you when it was. It was tapes. He sends me these tapes and some CDs and tapes. And it was his worship. It was his worship tapes and CDs. And it says produced by Louis Giglio. And I was
wow.
Oh, that's an interesting name. And I just learned these songs, and I came and I learned all these little choruses, and I brought them with note cards, and I just learned. I had no idea what I was doing. First time I ever led was at this week with kids. Started leading that week, and I learned all these songs. And then James at the end of the week said, hey man, 2 things. One is you have no idea what you're doing, and 2, you have no idea how God's going to use your songs all over the world. Wow. And I was looking at him like, well, what are you talking about? I didn't have any songs. My songs were on note cards that were from this tape and CDs from this guy named Louis Giglio. I was like, what is this? I don't know what you're talking about. And he put his hand on my head, and he said, God, would you make Chris a psalm writer for his generation? And it was like lightning went through me, man. And it was a moment. It was a marking moment in my life, and God started opening up doors from that moment to go to get play. And I was going to college, and I got into college, and I was at another youth camp. I was playing all these little youth events, and I got to youth camp, and the speaker was named Louis Giglio, and I was like, that was the guy from the tapes, the guy that from these tapes, and we connected. And I remember Louis coming to me and said, "Man, I speak all over the place, and I hear all the same songs everywhere I go. But these songs, where are these coming from?" And I said,
Wow.
I said, well, I've been writing them, kind of writing them in my room, and this is what. And I remember him looking at me and said, "Man, I think the whole world's going to sing these songs." And it was a second person who had come along, and so Louis like, "Man, when I go speak, I'm going to take you with me." And this is before Passion. This is way before any of that.
Yeah.
And these early days. And so I say all that to say it was people who believed in me when I didn't see it myself. I surely didn't see those things in myself. Somebody believed in me and saw something I didn't see in myself. And looking back, it's just God's incredible divine plan, because I would have never dreamed it. I would have never dreamed. I didn't know how to do this. Knowing my family's in music, knowing my family's in ministry, I had no idea how this would work. I was just trying to take small steps, and whatever opportunities came my way.
Yeah. Wow. And what, 20, 30 years later? I mean,
30 years.
Wow. Look at it
30
now.
years later, here we are, still trying to do the same thing, trying to write songs for the church, trying to write songs for that congregations sing. And
I love that.
Same thing. I still same thing. I just want people to sing,
Yeah. Well, your songs have impacted churches like all over the world. I mean, I know as a worship leader, I've led your songs just about every week for the past 20 years. I'll never forget when I was on staff at the Vineyard Church in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And she called me and she's like, "Matt, have you heard this new song on the radio? Indescribable. You have to do it. You have to do it." And it was in my set list for every week for like the next year.
Oh man.
And
that's so cool.
So I want to talk about your new album, because it's full of worship songs that are incredible. Holy Forever is one of them.
Yeah.
But before we get there, everybody listening to this, a lot of them, worship leaders, we kind of know you as a worship leader. We know you as a songwriter. We've been singing your songs. Can we switch gears and just give us a glimpse into like what the world of Chris Tomlin looks like just in a normal work week, like a normal week, like school drop off, travel, songwriting. I know you golf a little bit. If it was my way, I told the guys, I'm like, I want to get put in a golf cart with Chris Tomlin with GoPros and just like we could golf and just talk about life. And
so fun, bro. We got to do that. That'd be fun for that.
That'd be a fun interview.
Because we could talk about a lot of things and everybody see how really bad my golf is.
So like what, like give us a glimpse.
Yeah.
Like, what is a normal?
I mean, I have 3 girls. I have 3 daughters, and 11, 8, and 2. So I have 2-year-olds. We're back in it. And, so my wife, Lauren, and my life is very pretty much mundane in the day to day. It is a lot of school. When I'm not on the road, I don't try to do anything but try to be with my kids and be with my family, because it's so precious time to me. And so obviously, I'm on the road a lot, but when I'm home, it's every chance I can get to pick them up or drop them off or be there and be dad and just be with my girls. And I write as much as I can. In writing comes, it comes in flows for me. It comes in seasons, and there'll be times where I just feel like a lot of songs are coming. Sometimes times where I feel like, man, there's not much in the tank right now, and that's okay. That's just that's part of life and part of the rhythms. But it's very ordinary. There's nothing exciting. Every once in a while I get to play golf. I don't play a lot till it gets warm, and then I try to play if we go on. Usually if we go on vacation or something, that's kind of the time where I play, bring the clubs and play. But I love that's probably my favorite thing. I love being active. I love swimming. I've gotten into swimming. Try to do that about 3 or 4 times a week at least. And that's so good for me, because I just get in the pool and I just by myself, quiet, and I can think and exercise. I love being active, playing tennis, swimming, golf, all the things. But
that's awesome.
Mostly being a dad.
That's great. That's awesome. When you're do you ever songwrite at home alone? Like, is that kind of how you songwrite, or are you always like somewhere with other people?
It's both. I mean, I have a little writing studio above my garage. Just got piano and some guitars in there. It's nothing fancy. I'm terrible on all the things technology, so I use my friends with that. But that's where some ideas come, and that's where I'll
Yeah.
bring ideas, and that's where, and then writing with mostly just getting connected with songwriting friends, and hey, what about this? What about that? And or I can usually they bring an idea to me sometimes, and that's always. I feel like one of the strong suits of my writing is being open with people, as far open with my songs. It's like, I don't just write a song and go, this is the way it is. And I try to write and then go, hey, what do you guys think about this? And just be like, listen to other people's input and kind of, okay, how do we make the song better?
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about, you got this new album, Always. Yeah. It's awesome. It's full of worship songs. Full circle moment, I think, for you. Like, in this tour coming up, the Stories of Songs, I can't remember what it's called, but
Stories of Worship,
yeah. So why now? Like, what? Tell us about this album and where this came from.
It's always been my heart, to write songs of worship, and I felt like this. I put everything I could into this record. It's called Always, and it's full of just songs of worship. I mean, I feel like as good as songs that I've ever put out. If you listen to if you listen to the last song on there, Precious Love, I mean, that's as good a song as I feel like I can be a part of. And there's Holy Forever is like an anchor song for me of what worship is, the core of worship. And the record started with coming back to kind of this simple place and first love. It was during COVID when schools closed. Churches shut down for a little while, everything kind of shut down, and businesses and all the things. And, every Sunday would be me and my family and my girls. And I thought, okay, we're just having home church, I guess. And for a year, God brought it. We would just have the Sunday mornings. It was such a precious time. And God put this song on my heart from back in the early days when I felt God putting a call on my life when I was young, 8th, 9th grade, freshman high school, those years. I felt like this calling and it was one of those songs was a simple song called "Oh Lord, You're Beautiful," Keith Green. Yeah. And God just kept bringing that song back to me. And so for a year over COVID, I sang this every Sunday with my girls. We would just sing this on the Sunday mornings, and it was so beautiful to hear them singing it. So when I went to make this record, Always, I said, I don't know where this record's going, but I want to start right here in like this simple place. I want to start with this song, and let's just start from here and see where it goes. And so it really started from that real place for me, that calling, that early calling of my life. And so I feel like there's so much around these songs that have a lot of that DNA in them.
And Holy Forever is also an incredible song written with some pretty terrible songwriters, I'd say. So I'm not sure how you pulled that one up. No, I mean, obviously you've got like incredible songwriters on that song.
Yeah, it's Jason Ingram and Brian and Jen Johnson and Phil Wickham. Yeah. And if you can't write a good song with that, you need to go sell houses or something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's I mean, this song is, we need, and not just because I'm a part of writing this song, we need more songs like this in the sense of, right now, I feel like there's two lanes of songs. There's songs of deliverance and there's songs of transcendence. And the songs of deliverance are what we sing mostly. And that's what they're easier to write. They're kind of the human experience. Rescue me, God. I need your help. I need your grace. I need you. And a lot of like what I need, me. And which I write most of those songs there. There's nothing wrong with those songs. The Psalms are filled with those songs. Amazing Grace, one of the greatest songs ever written, is one of those songs. But then there's these other songs of transcendence, which what I mean by that is there's nothing about us in the song, in the deal, and it just takes us to a place. It takes us to the throne of God. It takes us there. It opens our mind, opens our eyes to see. Always, I try to say often, worship is more about seeing than it is about singing. I try to help people see with my songs, and Holy Forever is a reminder that there is an eternal song.
Yeah.
That there's an eternal song that never ends. The Revelation says day and night, they never stop saying, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come.
Yeah.
That is the eternal song. That's the song of worship that whenever we lead our congregations, when we stand before our congregations, that's what we're trying to usher in and remind people, hey, we're joining in that song today. The song of worship, holy, holy, holy is the Lord. And you can't sing that enough, and you can't take people. So I've found this I've always tried to find songs like that. And so when a song like Holy Forever comes, those songs, they change the room when you sing, because it takes people to a place of like, oh, this isn't just about me.
Yeah.
This is all of us together to the glory of God. And so How Great Is Our God was one of those songs. One of the very first songs I wrote, We Fall Down. It's that we fall down. You are holy, 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 right? Holy is the Lord. I think about the songs that have had the staying, any kind of staying with them and played in churches and gone way past me. They're usually these songs. And these songs of transcendence of, and so I would encourage worship leaders out there to always be putting these songs, gathering people and putting these songs in front of people, because they change. It's amazing how, what we do personally, all the things we're going through, all of our struggles, it's amazing how those things start getting reoriented and things start getting healed when we make much of God. Yeah. It's usually not the other way around. It's not when it's like all about me. It's usually when it becomes all about God. All those other things in life starts recentering in the right way, and our lives are recentered. It's like, wow, we live in such a world where I have to remind myself of that all the time, man. Of just like, this is not about me. I mean, how many times during the day do I have to say that? And I've got kids to show me that.
Yeah, 3-year-old bossing you around. Yeah, me too.
But it's not about me, And when as worship leaders, when we walk on that stage, that's got to be our posture. This is not about me. This is about God bringing you glory. And what does my congregation need?
Yeah.
And I say a lot like this. I want to be a lighthouse when I walk on that place. This light, this sweeping light, that's just trying to bring everybody, as many people home as you can. The storms of life. People are in storms. And Lord, let as a worship leader, I just want to be a lighthouse. It's just this light that sweeps around the room that can bring people to you, Lord. And that takes a humble leader, where it's like, it's not about me. It's not just exactly what I want to do. I'm not just going to pick the top 5 songs going right now, the most popular songs. I want to find the songs that are right for this moment. And anyway, that's a lot more than we were planning on getting into, but the Holy Forever is so important to me. It's an anchor of what worship is, because this is the eternal song. And I've had so many that just this week, people texting me from Singapore, sending me from Singapore, church singing it. This church in Texas that's like got all the brass instruments and all the orchestra and the big choir singing it to the most, every kind of church. And I'm just like, Lord, this is what it's about, is trying to find songs that can translate from Catholics to charismatics and everybody in between, find those songs.
And you guys nailed it. And the scripture says, cry holy, holy, holy. Yeah. And I just love it, because it really does bring it back to basics, brings it back to what it's about. I grew up in the Vineyard Church movement. My dad was a pastor, and I was around Vineyard and Calvary Chapel, kind of like worship, like spirit songs, like these songs that are just like describing like who God is, and very little. And I love that about this album, and especially the "Oh Lord, You're Beautiful" track as well in there. Like, it kind of just like threads that needle perfectly, in that it brings you back to that these songs of worship. Yeah. And I thank you as a worship leader. I thank you for putting that out.
Oh, buddy, thank you so much. The opening track on there, Yahweh, on the record, is a song that I wrote with Jason Ingram and Stephen Furtick with Elevation, and that just feels like you're always looking for those opener songs.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Songs we've been opening our set on tour with this song when I've been out on tour this last year, and I just love opening a night or opening a Sunday morning, just saying, Yahweh, holy is your name. Again, just declaring, holy is your name. Yeah. There will be no other God before you. There will be no other God before you. It's just simple as that.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of these songs. There's some I could go on every song, but I think there's a lot in there for the church in this record.
I have so many things I want to ask you, but I have 2 questions and then we'll wrap this up. I heard you one time say that songs are like life rafts and for people. Mm-hmm. And I totally relate to that. Like in 2020, I just had a very dark season. I felt like I was going through, and there were songs that I literally was clinging to, of what I believe and what reality is and what scripture says and what God says. I'm curious for you, is there a song that's been a life raft to you during a difficult season, and and what is that?
I think Father's Song, Matt Redman, my father's song, is a song that I come to when I just need to be still and be in a place with God and be and have it takes me there.
Yeah.
Every time. And just that idea of the Father singing over us, and and just, I think Matt said it so well. I mean, I could go down the list of Matt's songs. He's, of all the worship writers, he's the one that I just am closest to and connect with the most. But Father's Song would be one of my own songs. Angel Armies, Whom Shall I Fear, is a song that is just we live in fears everywhere, man. It is just, the world is so fearful of everything. There's so much there, it's just on fire. There's so much rage, there's so much frustration and so much fear out there. And just to say, to remind ourselves our story is it comes from Second Kings, and the song comes from Second Kings when Elisha tells his servant there's an army all around their whole camp. There's an army around their village set up, and it's over. And the servant's like, they're going to kill us all. It's over. And Elisha says, God, would you open up my servant's eyes that he could truly see? And his eyes were opened, and he saw the hills filled with angels, and armies of angels were surrounding them. And for me, it's just it's a reminder of like, Lord, help me truly see. Help me really, really remember what's going on here. When I feel like, when I'm in those dark, tough places, like you said, when you feel like you're just in a tough place. Help me really open my eyes again and truly see what's going on here. Yeah. That we don't wage war against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the spirits out there, the darkness, the evil. That's what's coming against us, and keep our eyes open to that. So those are a couple songs.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those. Mine a couple years ago was You Revived Me, which I know you were a writer on there.
Yes.
But man, I just love that. Like, my soul, Lord, is thirsty. Only you can satisfy. Just kind of like bringing you back to like my deserts are rivers of joy. Oh man. And then the bridge where you get into the, I'm alive. And it just like,
you revive me. Oh man. I've never done my own version of that. And I need to do that. It makes me think I want to.
I walked around our block we're in our neighborhood so many times listening to that song just on repeat. Yeah, it's powerful. Yeah. All right, my last question for you, Chris, and then I'll let you go. If you could go back and tell a younger version of yourself, or let's just pretend you're having coffee with like a 16-year-old worship leader, like that dweeby picture of me I showed you earlier. Let's just say you and I got to go out for coffee, and I'm this young worship leader. Like, what's some advice for the road ahead that you would give a young worship leader?
Yes, I would say that it is about there's a lot, but I would say it's more about what God thinks at the end of the day than it is what others think. And especially when it comes to leading worship. And my friend Louis Giglio that I mentioned earlier in this, that had a profound impact on my life. He said it in even a better way. There's a difference in leading for acceptance and from acceptance.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a big difference. And if you can get that in your heart, then there's so many of us, and as a musician, you put yourself out there, right? When you walk on a stage, you walk in front of people. It's a vulnerable place, and you're putting yourself out there. And a lot of times we can do that for God. You're just trying to get people to accept you and all these things. So you're leading in that way. But if you walk up and lead in a way that you already know that I'm a loved son of God, I'm a loved daughter of God, God's put this in my heart to do. God's given me this gift, and He's blessed me, and He's called me to do this, and that I'm going to lead the people. You're going to be a completely different leader, and people are going to follow you in a completely different way, because you're going to have a presence about yourself that is not about performance. Over here, if you're leading for acceptance, you're in a performance world. You're performing. If you're leading from acceptance, you're in a presence place. You're in a place of having a presence before people. And I think that's what I would say. There's a lot of things to say, but that's one thing people can hold on to. That's what I still try to hold on to when I'm touring. Is this about being accepted by people, or is I'm already accepted by God and help me? I want to lead the people this way.
Yeah, man, that is great advice. I wish, that's so good, man. Chris, thank you for taking the time for even having this conversation. And thank you also for the songs you're writing.
Yeah.
As a worship leader, for real, like I speak on behalf of like all the worship leaders who are watching this. I know we're all just so thankful for what you're doing, what you're
Thank
writing.
you, man. I just want all the worship leaders to know out there, I'm part of you. I'm in your team, man. I feel like this is what is the most important thing in my life is to lead the people of God to worship. And so for those of you who are in it, you're in it every day. Yeah. You're in it every week. Just do not lose heart. The church feels like it is getting destroyed left and right. Things are falling apart. But just know you're part of. There are people out there right now all over this world that are living and dying for this. It's life and death. And this is the real thing. And to help people, to bring them and to understand that you and I, as worship leaders, have the responsibility of what people know of God, what they understand of God, of how people connect with God, and what they think of God is through these songs, the power of music. How powerful is that? So don't give up. Keep writing great songs. Keep leading in a way that is leading people, to Him, leading people to Him, and not to yourself, and not to anything else, but to Him, and be patient with people. That's one thing I've learned. I mean, gosh, be patient with people, your congregations, and not everybody's where you are, and that's okay. Yeah. We're all on a journey. So, man, just honored to talk to you. Honored to talk to worship leaders out there. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, you've been a real pastor to worship leaders. Thank you. And I love too how you lead with so much joy. That it really does come through.
Yeah, man.
So it's awesome.
Thank you,
Chris. I hope the next photo we take is on the 18th hole when you've shot 10 strokes better than me. All right.
Well, I'm going to have to really, I don't even know how good you are, but I'm going to practice for that.
I'm not that good. But it would be a good time. Thanks for doing this, man.
Okay, bro.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Couldn't do what we do without you. Let us know in the comments what you thought. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube. Stay tuned. We got a bunch more stuff coming. Appreciate you guys. See ya.